Morning everyone, just a quick update on George, what happened at the weekend. Look at that weather again. I just got back from work. I got quite wet actually on my push bike, but hey yo. They give the weather getting colder and colder all this week, so there's not going to be a lot I can do with anything this week outside, so we'll reel that out. Right, let's have this update. Right then, for this update, we went and had a look at George on Saturday. Today is Monday, the 16th of January. So we went and had a look at George Saturday. He is just the other side of Norwich from where I am, which is about 35 mile away. So the plan was to go up and do a bit of shopping in the morning and then pop round and have a look at George in the afternoon. I was going to have a little go round the block in him, just check him out, just see how he's doing and make a decision whether I was going to bring him home or not. That was the plan. We had a look at the weather. The weather was rubbish for the weekend, but Saturday afternoon it said it was going to clear and be dry. So that was our opportunity to do this. So like I said, we went up to Norwich in the morning. I did make a small video. I say a small video because I've got to be very careful because it's quite sensitive for the person who I'm getting George from. Got to remember her partner who owned George passed away not that long ago. That brings me to say I did get my dates wrong a little bit. I thought that was a couple of years ago when his daughter got in touch, but in fact it was probably a year ago. In fact it was only March 22, so it's less than a year, but you know how it is with time going and things you're doing. So that means George has not been sitting that long, which is good news for me, I suppose. So why am I going to have a look at this car? Well, one reason is because I owned it before, and the reason why I owned it is because at the time when I was looking for another Moggy, I was wanted a black two-door. I didn't want one what was in pristine condition. I wanted something a bit cheap to use as an everyday. And when I found out at the time that the car what was for sale was a 1962, meant that was the same age as me. So little things added up, that's why I went and bought it. I did have the intentions in keeping it, but you know how it is, things change in your life and you buy different things. I've had several Morris Minors, as some of you will know. I must have had at least 6 without all the other cars I've had. Anyway, I bought it in 2013, so it's now 10 years since I first owned a car, and obviously it's got a little bit of sentimental value now why I want to get it back. Just use it probably as an everyday car if possible. So on Saturday afternoon we went and found George. When we arrived we could see it parked on the front garden on some grass. He was under a cover, which is even better news because I can't remember whether it had any leaks or whatever, and because we had the really hot summer and then we had some snow and stuff, and then, well, you know what the weather's been like. Anyway, I couldn't go steaming in with a camera. Like I said, it's a bit sensitive for the lady who's selling the car. So we went up and spoke to her, uncovered the car, and don't forget, when I spoke to her on the phone, she had told me that she'd started him up a few times and driven backwards and forwards and stuff. So I was quite optimistic that well, it shouldn't take much to fire him up, get him out onto the road, check it over, and make a decision. Well, when we uncovered the car, the first thing I noticed that the paintwork was really dull. I know it weren't perfect anyway, don't get me wrong. I think there was some gloss, there was some matte on him. He looked alright, but it weren't perfect. But what the guy had been doing, he'd been doing some work on it, and he decided to rub it down. He was going to get it repainted, so makes good sense. Spend time in the evenings, I suppose, after work or whatever, doing a bit of rubbing down. Anyway, so he appeared really dull, sort of a greyish black. First I thought that had been painted matte, but then when I spoke to her, she's told me no, he's been rubbing it down to get it repainted. Fair enough. Anyway, immediately I got in the car, I went to put the key in, the battery was dead as a dodo. I know the battery what I had on it weren't perfect, might have been the same one, who knows. Then the lady told me she did disconnect the battery, as she was being told us what to do if you're leaving the car stood up. Brilliant. Anyway, we popped the bonnet. Immediately when we popped the bonnet, I noticed there had been some changes. I'm not sure if the carburettor had been changed, because I can remember the carburettor was quite dirty. This one looked, either it's been cleaned or it's been changed, and just something about it I think it's been changed, but that's neither here nor there. It's had some braided fuel lines, and an inline filter had been changed for one of those little glass ones. They're not always perfect, I know, but they look good. So that looked fine. I reconnected the battery, turned the ignition on, and the first thing I thought to expect was a fuel pump to start clicking, which it didn't. So I had another look under the bonnet. There was no fuel in the filter at all, so obviously the fuel pump weren't working. Give it a couple of taps as you do, still didn't want to know. So I thought, hey ho, maybe if I try and turn it over, maybe it'll free something up. Anyway, immediately turned the key and the battery was too dead even to turn the car over. I did go prepared. I did take my little jump starter, which would fire that over quite easily 2 or 3 times I reckon. But like I say, there was still the problem with that fuel pump not pumping any fuel. Normally when you get in a Morris Minor that's been stood for a little while, you flick your key on and you'll hear it clicking away until it fills up the float bowl on the carburetor. Anyway, it turned out when I took the fuel cap off, tried to shake the car about, there wasn't an ounce of fuel in it. So it's been sitting there with no fuel in. Now, how long ago the car was actually started and moved, I was thinking a couple of years, like I said, but it turned out that wouldn't have been that long. There was a guy who'd come to support the lady with selling the car, I guess. He reckoned probably 6 months ago was when she'd moved it about. So that's not too bad, is it? 6 months, so you'd think. Anyway, with it being parked on the grass that hadn't sunk right into its hubs or anything, that had sunk in a little bit, and you know as well as I do, the car's sitting on grass and sunk in, you cannot even move it. I tried to push it backwards and forwards and it wasn't having it. Anyway, so I got my jump pack on it just to see if I could get more life into it, see if the fuel pump would start. no, still no joy with the fuel pump. I turned the key, he whizzed over, but obviously I weren't going to fire up with no fuel. So I whipped the back off the fuel pump where there's little points, had a little clean up around there, give it a few more taps, and it started to work, started clicking, but there was no fuel. We got a can of fuel. I stuck probably half a cup into the carburetor, just tipped it in and put the rest in the tank. Turned the key and immediately George fired, but only run for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Then tried it again, done the same thing, just burned off the fuel I put into the top of the carburetor. By now the fuel was a little bit in the filter, but it wasn't pumping perfect. So I took the top of the carb off, the top on the float bowl, put the ignition on, and then waited for it to fill the float bowl up. The pump was getting better all the time. I was a little bit tired, but that did start picking up, and it's understandable with it being sat there not being used. Anyway, it filled the carb up. I shot a little bit more fuel in the top of it, put it back together, went to turn it over. It fired up again, but it wouldn't continuously run. I tried, probably half a dozen times, and then my little battery pack decided to give up, which, to be fair, they do only work for a short amount of time and give a good blast when they do. But luckily we had some jump leads and we managed to get it jumped off a Land Rover or Range Rover, whatever. Anyway, we got it to jump off a Land Rover. Stuck the jump leads on. I put a bit more petrol in, fired up 2 or 3 times, and then I actually got him to run a little bit, fiddled with the choke, got it running, and then I kept it running for a few minutes, and then he actually started ticking over. So I left him probably, I don't know, 5 minutes, just ticking over, just to get everything moving. And then I thought, well, now's the chance to try and get him out onto the road. I thought maybe the brakes have stuck on. The handbrake hadn't been left on, so that was a good thing. Revved him up a little bit, which was, he weren't running absolutely perfect, but I didn't expect him to, but he was running good enough to be driven. I know he's got an electronic ignition, so that's a good thing. Yeah, probably the carb will need a clean out, maybe even clean the plugs. Anyway, he was running of a sort, so I thought what I'll do, like I said, I'll get it out onto the road. I tried to stick it in gear, weren't having it, just grinding. Yeah, you guessed it, the clutch plate had got stuck. In that short amount of time, let's say maybe 6-7 months, I know it can happen, and I know it has happened. By now the weather had changed. It was absolutely hammering down, and I weren't having a lot of luck. We obviously, because I was going to move it, we took the jump leads off and moved the Land Rover out of the way. I couldn't get it to move. Then I decided to switch it off, stick it in gear, turn the key, hoping with the clutch in that might free the clutch plate. But because it weren't on the jump leads now, it was running off the battery, there weren't enough oomph really to do it. And like I say, with the change in the weather, and we had been there now a couple of hours, decided to call it a day and have a think about it. And this is where I'm at with the car. I thought, I don't know, I'm just gonna walk away. I weren't prepared. I was in my head, because of what I've been told, I thought we were going to fire it up, have a little move about in it, decide whether I was going to have it and take it home. But I couldn't even get it to move off this grass. Like I say, we got fairly wet, and that's when I said to the lady that I'm going to have another think about this. I'll get back to you in a couple of days to decide what I'm going to do, and I've left it at that. And that's when I got the camera out. I asked her if I could just do a quick video. I had a quick walk around, quick look inside, not at the engine or anything. Like I say, it's a bit awkward. I don't want to upset her, and you know how it is. So we came away, got home, and I've been thinking about it now, obviously yesterday and today, and I'm now in two minds whether to go back. Maybe not this week because of the weather situation, maybe in a couple of weeks when the weather's better, take more tools. I did take a few tools. I took a handful. Take a few more tools, take some more petrol, maybe take a better battery, and just have another go. So this is where I'm going to leave this video. I know I've rambled on a bit. I'll just put in now the little video I took as I walked around the car. Morning guys, so today we're out in Norwich in the city. And there's a reason why I'm up here in Norwich. Yeah, we're going to go have a look at George the Morris Minor. That won't be till this afternoon. The weather this morning's been terrible. It's been wind and rain. The rain has just stopped. Hoping it's going to hold off. And the winds should be dying down now as well. So within another couple of hours we'll be going having a look at George the Morris Minor. Right, so we just arrived where the car is. It's actually behind that van over there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be allowed to do the video here, but I'll have a quick walk round, see if we can see the car, and then we'll go from there. That looks like it's got a cover over it, so I can't tell what it's like yet. And guys, here we are, we found George. Obviously the weather's let us down, and George has been sitting a while now. Remember all these holes and stuff, I did fill them in, but the guy has been doing some work on it. So a few changes, especially inside. Obviously it's a rat moggy, this is the way I had it. There's a few changes in here. Gear stick, obviously, door cards, just put new door cards on it and stuff. But because he's sat here, the brakes are stuck onto a seam. I did manage to get it fired up. There's no petrol in it. The bumper's been changed. Everyone does it how they want to do it, don't they? Because it's raining now, it's quite nice with the black, but it's quite dull when it's dry because it's been rubbed down and whatever. But there it is, we did get it started. I can't even have a look underneath for where it is. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and have another look at George and take it from there. But like I say, I got it started, weren't running too well, job to get the fuel through, the clutch is stuck, brakes are stuck. But what do? I want them back, but I need to think about this one. Cool. So obviously that was a short video I made. I know I'll probably babbled on a little bit, but I just wanted to keep you in the picture of what's going on. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this video out immediately. I might leave it until I've actually been and either got George German or not, but we will soon see. So I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Please share the video with anyone you know might be interested. Thanks again. Catch you in the next one. Bye for now.